Okay. So thank you, Newcastle Breaking News, for joining us. I've got Chris Frye here. I'm super excited about this. I didn't know much about Chris Frye until we had a conversation earlier today, and I did some homework before I asked him for an interview. But I'm really excited to talk to you today, Chris Frye. You've got a lot of good ideas, and they're not influenced by anything. So before we even get started, there's going to be people that are going to watch this for like a minute and then they're going to get off. That's just a reality of it. So in that minute, can you give us your biggest bullet points of your campaign?
Yeah, Dan, you said it the best, starting out. I'm not influenced by anything. I'm not connected to any previous politicians or anybody that has been in the political arena in Newcastle. I'm not connected to any of them. So you said it the best. I think that's one of the first things we got to hit on. When we start going down the list of all the things that are going on in our community, what the people really want to know about, it really comes down to, how do we just make Newcastle a better place to live, and that we could talk about the roads and absolutely stay on. We'll hit on the roads because a lot of people ask those questions. I saw your poll earlier. People ask that question. What are we going to do? How are we going to fix the roads? With $700,000, I think we can put a little bit better of a dent into it than years previous. So we'll get into all that. The second, which I think there might be even equal to it, is Act 47. What are we going to do about the finances in our community, in this city? How are we going to rebound? How are we going to get out of the hole that we're in? And I think it takes quite a few different strategies to do that. And then on a third level, if we had to throw one out there, I say socially. And when I mean socially is how do we all relate to each other, where we have immense crime, we have our drug abuse, and our drugs are pretty prevalent in our community. How do we reduce those things? And how do we create a downtown area and the neighborhoods that aren't plagued by those issues? And it's not everywhere in the city. It's just certain areas, certain folks, but we have to address those things, head on, or we won't see any change. So if I had to give three, I'd go with those three starting out. And it's kind of similar to everybody's platform, but when we start mixing it up and it's really who you see in the leadership position, that's really when you start to see, and hopefully the voters and the public start to see whose heart is really in it.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people have a similar platform because everybody has the same problems. I'll say this: so far from the conversations I've had with a lot of the candidates, they have these different approaches to it, or these different mindsets to it. Some some are more focused on other things, and some are more focused on social issues. And where do you say, in those three things that you gave me, how would you prioritize them?
I'll tell you what, man, I'm real comprehensive because I think I don't take any issue lightly. I think that's the biggest thing. You can't compartmentalize what's going on in our city. You have to look at it as a whole, as everything's an issue. From the potholes, the finances, from the relationships that were destroyed over the years. You have to kind of look at it all comprehensively, and attack them all at the same time. And see what strategies can really change that and revitalize our community. Where I'm just one person, right? As a candidate for mayor, in office, it'll look a lot different. That comprehensive picture will look a lot different because you'll be able to develop task forces. There's certain groups in our community working on revitalizing downtown. We'll have certain groups working on strategizing our infrastructure and becoming business ready for all of our retail and office space downtown. So while it may seem, kind of a naive kind of answer to a big question, it's not, because when you get in there strategically, you really start to place people where they're strong suit, where they're strongest at, and we just tackle as much as we can, right? It's a 4-year term, so we don't have a lot of time.
To summarize, everything's number one.
I feel like everything's an issue. Yes, I feel like everything's an issue, and I don't want to I don't want to downplay,
Right. Rightfully so.
what the issues are, but I think that everything's an issue because, like you see on your polls, you'll have. I think they're pretty even today. You have folks talking about the crime, you have folks talking about the streets, you have folks talking about the finances, and being a mayor, you have to be able to manage and handle every issue that comes across your table with a priority. And I think that's important. And that's a leader, right? That's somebody that really takes to heart everything that goes on, no matter how minute and how small it is. You really got to focus on and address everything with a level of excellence and a level of priority, and understanding that those issues are priorities.
You're in some leadership roles right now with the community, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not on my list of questions, but can you tell me a little bit about it? Because I'm really interested.
Yeah, Dan, I've been involved. I'll go back about 10 years, okay, and I'll go back 10 years because if I go back to when I was 13, 14, and 15, leadership is a little bit different back then, right? You're just kind of running around, playing football, having fun with your friends. But again, that's a different perspective because I want to talk to the youth about that, being involved in a lot of groups and having that voice. But right now, if I go back 10 years, I could say just being involved with some of the things that we see today that are producing results. You talk about New Visions, Angie Urban.
That's the one.
She's been doing a fantastic job. She's a one-person show. They have a pretty strong board. But she's a one-person show. So in the beginning of the development of that, I really took a lot of time with Dave Copper of Cray. He was CEO of Cray. I ran it used to be the Eye Care House. We changed the name to Origins. It was an East Side Neighborhood Development Center. We were just trying to develop the East Side, which today we see, there was a little bit of a foundation built with talking to the people and mobilizing the folks in that neighborhood. And now look at it. It's Dawn Services is building homes and sheds, and there's neighborhood gardens popping up in different areas. Some of those things are happening now, and I 100% support that. Like that, those are the glimmers of hope that we need. We need to see that stuff take place. So
it starts with attitude. It starts with attitude.
You're 100% right, man. And I think. Sorry to get off subject a little bit, but leadership roles I'm in today, I'm the coordinator for our community supports services at Lawrence County Community Action Partnership. So that's my job. I do that. That's my job. And I feel I'm a supervisor there.
I was going to say, is that the ones that are hosting the Democratic meeting on the 30th? Is that
New Visions? I believe it's New Visions and Blueprint Communities and the Newcastle News.
Okay, that's important. Some of that stuff's important. We're gonna be there with a 3D camera. Actually,
awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to clarify.
You're good. You're good. Yeah. Claire, that's good because a lot of people, whoever's watching, should know that. Definitely because they're going to be mobilizing all summer long. They do their stuff in the winter, so more people to know who's taking the lead on this type of stuff is important. But I currently sit on the YMCA board, which is a fantastic board of a lot of influential people in our community. I've been on that board for I think I joined last year, so around October-ish. Yeah. But I'm on their board. I also am currently involved in Leadership Lawrence County, which is a fantastic group of leaders throughout the community. It's through the Lawrence County Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And basically what we do is once a month we get together, we go through a whole leadership development training from a retreat where we had a group from Georgia come up and give us some leadership styles to learn about ourselves.
Let me stop you there. If someone was listening and they were interested in that program, how would they join that?
They are recruiting right now. I think if you have any interest on learning who you are and how to be a part of Newcastle and to really put your leadership skills to the test, I think you should contact the Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce tomorrow. Talk to Katie Dye. She is she's there, and she will tell you all. Our group is there's going to be an event on Crane Room, and this is we decided to raise funds for, and they're going to do a community, Lawrence County beautification piece where they can kind of be replicated throughout the community. So we're at the Crane Room. Jump on again to the Lawrence County Regional Chamber of Commerce and check out their, the information on that event. It's going to be fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, and I've coached youth for years with Ralph Blundo and Sean Anderson at the high school, and in the George Washington with their youth development program. Just always kids. I have 3 kids of my own. So anything youth related, baseball, basketball, things like that. I love to be involved with the kids and working with on all levels. So yeah, that's
awesome.
In a nutshell, that's some of the leadership stuff.
That's a lot of leadership. That's a long day. That's a long day.
Yeah. It is. So I'm ready to work. If I can say that, this is what a mayor does. He works all day long, never rests until things are until life is better for everybody.
How you calculate your work week? You calculate it in a day or you calculate it in a week?
I don't even know what day it is today. What day is
it? It is it is Wednesday. It is Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Oh, okay.
Yes. I know this because I have a bunch of shit I got to do. But so that actually is a good segue into my question. So what do you think, once you're elected mayor, and we're just going to say that from here on out, it's going to be uniform. Once you're elected mayor, what is your day? What is your day going to look like?
Well, I'll tell you what, I hope my day is going to look like just nonstop, whatever opportunities that we could give to the public and to the people to be a part of our city government. I really hope that's what my day is going to look like. Now, the meat and potatoes is, working with our business managers, our solicitors, our city councilmen to really strategically look at how we're going to, get out of our Act 47 situation, how we're going to develop, our plans for our business marketing downtown, things like that. So that's where you come into play with the CDC, working with those guys. And I have, I don't know if nobody ever tells me if they don't like me. So I feel like I have a good relationship with all those folks. So it'll be kind of a seamless process getting right into those networks and talking with those folks. But we're gonna be pulling back the curtains on a lot of stuff. We got to look at, our business privilege taxes downtown and the mercantile tax. How do we change that? How do we get folks who want to be entrepreneurs or small business owners? How do we get them in those places? How do we support the businesses downtown? So I want to talk to everybody. Maybe if I sum it up, it's my first 100 days. It's really going to be an opportunity, pretty much to extend out what I'm doing now with the campaign, is getting out and meeting and talking and really finding out what resources and opportunities our city government can do to support local businesses.
Let me stop you. I don't think people understand how difficult a business is to run, and sometimes people take it. People need more education. I don't feel like there's enough education going on out there on what you can do to be your own entrepreneur. One of my biggest things is I put a call center inside the Huntington Bank building. This is 7-10 years ago.
Okay.
And at that point, the Huntington Bank building, this is 7 years ago, the Huntington Bank building didn't have cable internet. And so we had to drill it. And so this is my first business experience. The number one thing I learned is that everybody wants your money. And it's so difficult to be in a position where you have to, okay, so now you have an idea, and now you have to take this idea and you have to figure out how to make money off of it. And
It's not easy.
It's not easy. And, some people need that kind of leadership or need that kind of education. And I think we overall have a better attitude about things if people knew, a little bit, if business was a little bit more approachable. And inside of Newcastle, it's not. It's not. I immediately took my bit as soon as every single tax came in. And I immediately just disbanded the business. There's people out there that are watching this and saying, yeah, he was right. But there was no incentive. There's not really much of an incentive to put a business inside of Pennsylvania anymore. So putting it in Newcastle is even a tougher thing. How would you market Newcastle as a business friendly place?
Well, first, I keep hearing this analogy, and it's starting to affect me a little bit. Is all of our municipalities around us are eating our lunch, right? Eating us for lunch, and that's like I think that's a tough analogy to have, because that's like a bully concept, and I don't think they're bullying us at all. I think they're doing things smart, right? We're a small community, 20-some thousand people, in the city, 90,000 total, including the city in our county. We don't have to go far to market us, right? 90,000 people, if we could just turn their heads to focus on what we're doing downtown and what opportunities we have, but we have to give them a reason. So, like I said, the business privilege taxes, that's not applied everywhere, right? That's a huge disadvantage to some of the stuff that goes on. You go to communities all across the state, in Ohio, things like that, free parking. What's the incentives to come downtown? Are you trying to keep us out of town, or do you really want us here? I think that's the question we need to answer, right?
Yeah.
So with you talked about how difficult it is. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I've started up a few different businesses. My wife runs her own little business right now, and you're right. It's tough to get into that. And then on the other side of things, I think it's very important is that we have an incubator system, something that educates folks and offers opportunities to at least get started. So a buddy of mine, a friend, I just met him. He's running for Commissioner Boyd. He's talked about this on and on for his whole campaign, and we've sat down and talked about it. We're going to sit down again Friday and talk about it. But I think it's essential that our city has that. Youngstown has it. I visited their kitchen incubator not too long ago. Beautiful setup. Businesses coming out of there, from bottling barbecue sauce to selling online. You have a whole meal prepping ideas, and then even the folks starting businesses.
I actually got invited to that. To one of those incubator sessions inside of Youngstown. There's a very good friend of mine that goes to them frequently. Me, it's a matter of time. I would love if there was something local to Newcastle. I'd be there every day. Having young guys, with good ideas. I tried to get Raheem on Raheem News. He's having problems, but there's a great. I mean, that's a great little concept of a business right there. And, it's filling this void of this real reporting. And that's something you and I talked about. It's very realistic. It brings a community together. Some of the content's a little iffy, but it's not for everybody. It's certainly not for everybody, but the people that it's for, they absolutely love it. And business ideas like that, that guy can grow that to a national scale. You know what I mean? He could easily. And people like that with the right guidance and the right amount of capital and some other backing partners could be really interested in that sort of thing. That's all it takes. People don't, so businesses.
Well, the city offers a 2%. I believe it's 2%. There's a low interest loan that the city offers. I have to get more information on, tax than the city officials for that information. But we have the resources, and again, we have a very business minded community. Newcastle's a business group. Angie Moore runs a young professionals group, or sorry, Angie Urban runs the young professionals group.
There's a Lawrence County young professional.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. And the Chamber of Commerce does a lot too. They look at the whole county, but they look for 40, 4 under 40. I believe that's what they look for. So we're very business minded, entrepreneurial minded community. There's something holding us back, and finger on it. I'd say it's leadership in our local politics. So again, that's why I'm running. I want to open it up to the people, open it up those opportunities, and that's how we begin to market and move forward. And some of the developers, they sit on properties, but I think with the right conversations and the right communities, collaborations, we can open up those doors to have some pop-up shops. We can have some maybe.
Volant's doing great.
You're right. It's right in our backyard.
Yeah,
these folks are doing wonderful.
It's in the middle of nowhere. There's no reason to go to Volant other than to get tea.
Whole store, all the storefronts. I was in Tiffin, Ohio recently. My son had a basketball tournament, and as we were there, we didn't see one chain restaurant. Now, nothing against chain restaurants, but we didn't see any.
Yeah.
What we saw were mom and pop shops, small businesses. I'm talking at least a mile both ways, all way of businesses. So I talked to some of the locals and I asked just what's going on. They open up their doors. Developers came off of some of the properties. They offered, low rent for like the first 6 months or things like that. They start to work together and collaborate. We can do that too. We can do that, but we have to have those. We have to talk to the people. We have to open up our doors to the folks who are in those positions. And I'll be open to talking to Paul Lynch, Dale Perman. I know Dale. Some of the Tim Fulkerson. He's a developer downtown. So any of the other folks who are in that area who have some property, I think it's time that we strategize around it and we open up the doors to the people.
Yeah, figure out how to get those people into those properties, and that's an everybody win.
That's what I was going to say. It's reciprocal. So he wins, his foundation wins, your family, your legacy wins, and also some of the folks who want to start up something downtown. But it has to be a group effort.
So you see the question down here from Bobby Hilke. We can do that, by the way. If people want to comment questions that we think are good, we can put those down here. So Bobby Hilke, which you know him, don't you?
Let me see the picture.
It says what set? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what that fake face he's making there, but it says what separates Mr. Frye from Albert Conti? If you're not comfortable answering any questions, by the way, just say pass, and it's not going to be a big deal. People skip over it anyway.
No, that's all right. I think it comes with the job, right? You got to be.
It should. Transparency.
Transparency. And I'm not going to hold anything back. Honestly, I don't know Albert. We just met. The little bit I do know about him is he seems like a good guy from my perspective. The times that I've talked to him and at the different events we've gone to, honestly, what separates us, just from what I see on a regular basis, he's already a public official. So obviously there's the biggest differentiating piece right there. He's already a public official. He's the controller right now, the Democratic controller right now. He's running on the Republican ticket. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. There's some differences between the both of us there. So I haven't been down that path. Albert, I just reached out to him. I found out that he was challenging all the candidates to a debate. So I just found that out, and I reached out to him yesterday to have a debate. And I'd like to do it public, public live stream. We have the whole gamut of things. We're not running for a school board. We're not running for city council, where those folks aren't full time. We're not running for controller. We're running for mayor. We have to be in the face of the public. We have to be constant with the business owners, the developers, anybody doing work in our community. And there's no shying away from it at all. There's no shying away from it. We have to do that. So there's another piece. He's more. I don't know. Again, I don't know his personality or anything like that. I just feel like I'm a more outgoing kind of person. I really want to connect with the people, and I think if Albert, if he wants to do that as well, I think we have a public debate and we do a live stream.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me stop you. I have him on tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I can ask him that. I can ask him, but the worst he could say is no, essentially. But we have that. We have if you want to do it public, we can do it public. And if you're listening out there, we didn't plan this, but if you want to do it public, I swear to you, I have a 3D camera coming in Friday. We can set that up, 180 view. You can see the faces. You can see everything that it's going on. We can make that. I mean, I can ask him I can ask him tomorrow and then we can set up a time. Hopefully that is something we can do. Obviously the breaking news would love to do that. Both of you would submit your questions, I assume. We'd have to do some research on the format of that, but that shouldn't be a problem at all.
I know a few folks that want to do it. I think he was going through Angela Parada, NCTV News, Mark Kaufman.
Never heard of NCTV News. Is it good?
Oh yeah, he posted. Okay. Angela Parada posted a lot of stuff on there.
Not ringing a bell.
And then we have Mark Kaufman. I'm joking. Oh, okay. Is that your competitor?
No, we are not. We are not competing with anybody. There's no breaking news sites, other breaking news sites that we're competing with. We're our own thing. We've got our own. Let me just say this, people. We've got our own thing now. All right. We don't care about anybody else but us. So that's it. Diss us, you won't hear a reply.
All right. Play nice. Yeah. All right. So I know Mark Kaufman. He has a studio in the Shannock that he's offered to, and Jordan Lyles, he's actually doing some. He reached out to me a couple of days ago, and he wants to organize it. So people want to organize it. People want to see a debate. I'm game for a debate. It's going to be something. I don't think it's going to be anything, no bloodshed or anything crazy like that. It's going to be a good opportunity for Republicans to talk, the Republican candidates to talk to the people. I think open forum, unsolicited questions can come out, and we'll just do it like that.
Guys, we might have a debate as long as Albert's okay with it. We'll definitely set up arrangements. I don't, like I said, he'll be on tomorrow. I will ask him. I promise you that. But if he says pass, I will not. Just so you know, I will not pursue it any further. And speaking of Jordan Lyles' friend requested me. As you said that, so he must be. I hope he's out there. Jordan Lyles, get a hold of me. We'll work something out. So now we've talked about Act 47. Educate us on Act 47. There's people out there that don't, they don't have the slightest idea what Act 47 is. How would you summarize Act 47?
I'll take you. I mean, I can do like a little timeline. I think that's the best way to look at it. Back in 2007 is when we entered Act 47. It's a state designated as Newcastle and multiple other cities in the Commonwealth as an economically distressed area. So, being in that status, in 2007, we've been given directives to follow to help us get out of that. Now, some of the directives haven't been met. The documentation's all public. It's all on the DCED's website, so anybody can access that stuff. I plan on having education and forums for that specifically, working with our business manager, working with the state representatives for that, for the public, because really to get out of it, it takes, again, I'm all about, comprehensive, working as a group, team effort kind of stuff. It's going to take our whole community believing in the vision to get out of Act 47. So there's a couple of options that we can do to work our way through. Sorry, let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
Act 47 gives us a taxing ability on the earned income tax. So where municipalities that aren't in Act 47, they tax 1% on earned income tax. Right now, we're at 2.1% on residents and 2% on commuters. So it gives us that additional taxing benefit or opportunities, so we don't, obviously we don't go bankrupt or
So
go
it,
into receivership.
yeah, and because of let's stop there, and so because of the mismanagement over the last 20 some odd years,
Yeah,
this is where it led to,
a lot of people say 12 years, and I say, man, it's been if I go back, I say about 25 years. And I'm not calling out any person, the person who was the mayor. It's just mismanagement. Where were the gaps? Where was the accountability at?
The mayor's just one guy too. Let's talk about that for a second. Mayor's just one guy. It's not that one guy's fault. Essentially, it was a community of people. And guess what? The mayor's job is to bring everybody together, is to build that community and work towards one goal. I don't think, I don't think that is really done here. And that one of the purposes of the breaking news site is to build that community back together, is to be that little piece of glue that puts things back in its place. And that starts with education. That starts with things like that we're doing here. And so
that's right.
Yeah. And leadership, I think is what we are going to need. And you've got a lot of that, definitely. So
thanks. And going back to what you said, it's not the mayor is the CEO of the city.
Yeah.
Right. So, and in my perspective, he's not the CEO of maybe the 200 people that are employed or whatever, approximately, that are employed by the city, but the 20,000 residents. So he's not a CEO of some small company, right?
Yeah.
He's a big corporation that he has to follow. So, where the issues may have occurred and started to occur and accountability, fell off in 25 or so years ago. I mean, you got to take into account who were the city council members during that time. I can name a few right now, but I'm not going to do that.
We won't.
Who were the controllers during that time and currently, who were the people that were going through that process? And, we're going to stay positive and lead with integrity. But I think the people know, because I've seen it posted all through social media. I've talked to people at their doors. What are we going to do about the corruption and nepotism and those type of things? Listen, what we do is get them out. We are public positions. We vote them in. So
you got to vote. You got to vote. Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. Check this out. I bet you if I looked at, there's a list of, what was it, 2,400 people last election?
Yep.
So 2,400 people. I bet you 20% of that 24, that's 200 people. I bet you that 20% didn't drive vehicles enough to see the potholes. I bet you a lot of that 20%, or maybe even potentially more. Those are the people that vote in the elections every year. I bet you any money they don't have access to social media so that they can see the discord going around the city. Their taxes are potentially Social Security. I'm not calling anybody out here. What I am saying is that those people are above the ages of 65. 65 and over, less access to the community, maybe potentially looking out their window and saying, hey, everything's fine. So I'm going to vote for that nice, I'm going to vote for that guy because that's the sort of status quo. Let's keep it that way.
It's a very unfortunate conversation to have. Like, it's a tough conversation to have when somebody says, hey, I go to dinner with him every, once a week.
Yeah.
So I'm voting for him. Come on.
I see him at bocce.
Like, that's not how we do it. That's not how we do it. And that's why I think it's very important to not be connected with anybody. I have a very small family. My family, they have jobs, they're doing well, and if they weren't, they're not looking to any politics. That's where I'm at. This is something that I've gone to school for. I've dedicated a good portion of my life to this leadership and community engagement, community organizing stuff, and administration. So I don't have any. I can't name one person in my family. Nobody's tugging at my shirt. I'm not giving a deal to anybody. But you hear it so much. I think that's the unfortunate thing. I hear it, and I'm just knocking on doors and talking to people. Well, so just offer me a deal. Well, we can't do that if we're going to ever, change the environment of our local government.
I'd say, you realize that's illegal, right?
Right. You got to tell them that.
You can't. You get what I'm saying. Those things, we're not. I do not want to call anybody out, and and I don't think it'd be right to do that because we don't know the whole story. Maybe someone was under the impression that they would receive favoritism and they didn't. Maybe. You can't really say one way or another, but I can say that, when I think it was Rockefeller that said, I donated 100,000 to X guy's campaign and things worked out so well, I think I'll donate another 100,000. And so you're not necessarily buying favoritism, but when people think about you, that's what they're going to think about. When you say, hey, you've got your vote one way or another, you really have to think internally, and you have to say, is this guy going to be the best guy? And let's go even further than that. You've got to vote. Like, you've got to get out there. Chris, I'm sure you've got friends and family out there that are going to vote for you no matter what. You can get on and say, look, I'm just going to get on stage. I'm going to take a nap and that's going to be it. But your mom's going to vote for you no matter what. Right.
I hope so.
Yeah. Right. But there's nothing you can do about that. But you have to get out there and, those people, this is why the 500 votes that I want is so important. Because they need to wash out the people that are going to vote the same way for those particular, let's say, I don't want insidious reasons. I don't even want to go that far, but you get what I'm saying. We need 500 more voters.
Not helpful.
Yeah, exactly. It's not helping anybody. We need 500 more voters. So if it was 2,400, we need 3,000, right? That's my goal. My goal is to contribute, get that number to 3,000 votes. And so we've got a good, yeah, exactly. I feel it is. And so that's why one thing we've been doing is making sure people are aware it's X day, it's May 21st, get out there and do it. That having said, that's not a good segue into this next question though, but what groups do you help plan to facilitate? We just need to move forward on it. We're like at number 4.
Well, I'm enjoying this conversation.
I told you
I do want to go back just a small tidbit to Act 47, and then I'll get right into that.
Sorry.
Because,
that's my fault.
Kind of no, it's all right. We went off base a little bit, but with Act 47, what we're looking at right now. So I want to give you a little timeline. In 2013, and you can find this on the Newcastle News. We were working our way to get out of it, and we had a couple different options. We had an option to go into Home Rule Charter. And basically, Home Rule Charter, in a nutshell, would designate a community residents who would spearhead and kind of lead the process and work, potentially change our government structure, but lead the process out of Act 47. Our government officials decided not to take that approach. They thought there was too many unknowns. What was taking place? What they could expect from the residents being involved. I think that's very crucial to what you guys should expect in the next election. If anybody says they don't want you to be involved, that's a red flag and go the other way. Right? I'm not saying names, but look in the Newcastle News. So that's one thing, very important. But that's been on the table since maybe even before 2013. So we could be working together right now, getting folks engaged in the process at a different level right now. Well, what Home Rule Charter would allow us to do is still on the table. And DCED is once, may recommend this for the 3-year plan, but it's important for us to know that that's going to be coming out here soon, and if that's still on the table, we need residents who are prepared and educated to. We have to see who's, and I believe the mayor and the city council, business administrator, solicitor, they select that group. So, I just want everybody to be aware of that. But what that'll allow us to do is we keep that taxing. We'll be able to keep that taxing structure. So, which is about a $3 million gap. So if we exited Act 47, we'd lose, that taxing ability.
Yeah, we're not
charter.
ready.
Well, no. Home
Yeah.
rule charter will allow us to do that. So what options do we have? We have to do something to sustain our budget and sustain our revenues. So with a 3-year plan, that's an option that's on the table. So we have to, again, it goes back to votes. It goes back to people understanding, and you got to know who's the right, who's going to open the doors to the public, right? So we can get the right people at the table, and it's not going to be any backdoor deals, any backdoor conversations taking place where we're not going to be privy to. We have the Sunshine Act, right? Okay, that's transparency, but there's a big difference on kitchen table conversations that never make it out, right? There's a big difference. Sunshine Act, you can get it. You can get documentation. You can get notes. City council will post their minutes and things like that. But it's still not the same. You want people that you can trust, that have integrity, and it'll move this stuff forward and do things properly. So we can go to the next one.
I was going to say one thing we are going to do there is we're going to make sure we're going to try and get a 3D camera in city council meetings, because city council meetings are important,
Very, very important.
I mean, no one might watch it, but something good might happen. We don't know. A lot of people don't even attend. A lot of people are more interested.
It's a small room anyways. It can't hold too many people. So you need a platform like this is a good idea.
Yeah. Transparency, transparency and education and motivation. But so, that's what it's all about here. And
let's not forget the school board either. Let's not forget that. We need
to talk to some of them school board people. I'm actually, I don't know. I was approached today. I'm not gonna say anything about anything, but I think if we get some school board people on, I think that's going to be a fun conversation to have. I know. I went to Newcastle. You went to Newcastle too, right? What year did you graduate?
I didn't graduate Newcastle. I graduated Kennedy Catholic.
Oh, okay.
I sustained a back injury going into the 9th grade year, and my mom, me and my younger sister went to Kennedy. So I graduated Kennedy in 2010. And then sorry, 2006.
2006. You graduated school in undergrad in 2010, right?
2010, correct.
Yeah. What's your degree in? It was public service something.
I received my bachelor's in social work from Gannett University, and I got my master's in social work, community organizing and administration at University of Pittsburgh. Bless you, whoever's sneezing.
I don't know who. Is that on your end?
I hear it on your end. Somebody's.
This mic is great. It's a Blue Yeti mic. I don't know. That might have been the neighbor, but there's nobody here. But that said, if there is, that's a problem. But that said, there's one thing I wanted to touch on. What you said, that's a pretty impressive resume
Thank you.
for actually being able to do this and for actually being able to understand. We're going to try and get one of my friends who's an attorney from DC. If you're watching this, Patrick, I'm going to tell you to come on, and we're going to kind of pit up some of basically what I want to do is get an analyst point of view in here. So we've got somebody from law. We're going to try and get an MBA in here too, and kind of see what everybody says about everybody's plan. And so that's a pretty impressive.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. So that's a pretty impressive resume there. So hopefully, whatever you do, I hope we see more of you. If it's not mayor this year, or if it's in 4 years, whatever it is, I hope I see more of you doing what you're doing. What groups do you plan to facilitate? That's question number 3. Raheem can't get into the room, so I'm going to bring up his question in a second here too.
Okay.
But for now, what groups do you plan to facilitate?
I think, just from, what's going on right now, our CDC is a big group that is in the process of developing. I know they have their board meetings and things like that. CDC is spearheaded, I believe, by Tim Fulkerson. I know Mark Kaufman is on that group. Cindy Gromley is in that group. I think it's very important that whoever's married, we stay involved in that. That's going to do a lot of our business and downtown development, getting some of our business sites available and doing the marketing for the city. They're revamping our website, so we got to get into the modernize our technology,
appeal to the digital community,
appeal to the digital. That's where it's at. So we got to be able to reach out to have platforms where we can market it appropriately. And so that's definitely a group that you have to, if you're going to do anything, make any changes, you got to be a part of that. And I'm open to any groups. I've talked to the Realtors Association, Lawrence County Realtors Association. Want to be involved in the Lawrence County Landlords Association. Any groups, I know, I won't share the story, but I know of a group that wants the mayor to be.
By the way, when this interview is done, let's just after this, we'll talk later.
Yeah, I'll share everything.
No. I just want to talk to you. That's all.
Absolutely. But I know there's certain groups that really want the mayor to be involved in the summer food program, which is at 18 sites across the city in the summertime, where our free and reduced lunch program at the school ends when school was over, and it opens up to these summer sites. That group really wants the mayor to be involved and that leadership to be involved, and I think it's crucial.
They used to do that a long time ago.
Who's that?
That I don't know if it was the same group, but that's what they used to do. They would come to the playgrounds, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
Playgrounds, churches.
Yep. Yeah, these kids it would be a time where you'd meet up, you'd get lunch, you get like a small lunch. I remember that. At Mahoneytown, there was one down there. Yeah, that was great. That was a great place for everybody to get together. And yeah, go ahead.
So those are some of even groups like that. I know for a fact they want some representation from our local government to be involved, and they're just not getting it, and I hope to be on that level too, the more grassroots level, and on the business level, want to be involved in that. And I think, and I'll talk to you about this, because not just with being involved in leadership Lawrence County, do I think it's vital and it's important, but being involved with the Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce on that scale, we are a part of a bigger picture. Look at we're part of, and I didn't read the whole document, but I was doing some research for a grant that I was working on, and it's the ARC, Appalachian Regional Council, or something along those lines. We're part of a huge regional network, and it's not that we're competing. We need to learn how to collaborate across all these different municipalities. So,
you mean like facilitate logistics?
Yeah, facilitate logistics. Figure out what our niche is. How are we gonna? Where do we fit in as a city? Those are the type of conversations that are being had all across our region. And for some reason, our city's not doing that, or they're having a closed mind to those conversations. And
it feels isolated.
It feels very isolated, very much so. So I know that those conversations are happening. I've been approached by some of the leaders in the different municipalities who have discussed, want to discuss with me what their plans are for, their municipalities, and how Newcastle could be vital to that as well. But it just, our city is not open to that right now. Our local leadership does not feel like those are good opportunities for us for whatever reason. But I see it as a bigger picture, and like earlier, if we could turn the heads of just the 70,000 more people that are in the county, we'd be right. We'd be doing very well.
Yeah,
I know, folks. So
I think the message is we're here, we're ready to work hard. We need to get it together. I think we need to come together as a community and just make that statement. And that's what a lot of that leadership we're hoping to change. I'm aware of obviously being in the admin role of this. People reach out to you. I'm aware of situations where we had opportunities that were moved out to Neshannock actually, and because we weren't even offering at that point. We weren't even offering to facilitate it. At this point, you feel like things are dead. You feel like things are not. You feel like there's people out there that want to continue to keep things status quo, and that's why it's so important to get that kind of motivation in there. Would you agree with that?
absolutely, you have to think about it from this standpoint. If you're a business owner, which you were, what are you going to go for? You're going to go for a site that's needs a lot of work, that's close to a lot of dilapidated other areas, or you're going to go to a site that's move-in ready. And that's the difference between some of our municipalities and what's around us. Places, the developers in some of these other areas know what their they are customer focused. They are bottom line. What are we going to do to fill these locations? What are we going to do to please our customers, which are the folks who are renting and leasing these facilities? That's at the core of it, and that's what we need to do. And that our city is going to become like a customer service city, where we just answer the phones and say, hello, everybody, but we have to lead. The city has to be run like a business. It definitely has. I'm not a business owner. I'll put that out there right now, and I'll let everybody know. But that does not mean I've taken quite a few business classes, actually on a couple different occasions through the Small Business Development Center. Again, I've been an aspiring entrepreneur for years.
Let me tell you,
worked on business plans, things like that. Been at
let
the
me
table
stop.
with.
I'll stop you right now, and I'll tell you the
Go ahead.
difference between business and public service. Actually, it's almost the exact same thing. And at the end of the day, it's about getting along with people that don't have to get along with you. That's it. Think about it. Think about it across any job you've ever had, or across anything else. It's all about getting along with people that don't have to get along with you. And that's why nepotism runs rampant a lot around here, because a lot of people don't know how to get along with people that don't know how to get along with them. So
Right. Yep, and that's the important thing. But we have to do it. And I know I've been in quite a few offices people who want to be a part, and even some of the businesses left. They didn't want to leave. So where'd it fall?
Yeah.
Local leadership.
Yeah, exactly. And transparency. I mean, it comes back to that. There's nobody new. There was somebody out there that said, "Hey, I'll pick up this ball." Right? There's a ball. That's why we're here right now, because someone had to pick me, Albert Blashak, and Bobby Hilke. We sat around at a dinner table and we said, "Hey, I'll pick up this ball."
Yeah.
If no one else wants to. And yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, there's got to be more people out there. There's got to be someone exposing those things. And one of the things we have that we have, it's been an hour, by the way. We've been talking for an hour. We can go as long as you want. But that's it. One of the things we did was we talked about extrapolating data from from feedback and seeing where we're at as a litmus test in a community.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions, which came from, it didn't even come from me. It came from someone that reached out to me. And basically I didn't have anything really, really important to put. And I said, "Hey, what should I do here?" And they came up with a great thing. They said, "Where did we go wrong?" Right? Where did we go wrong? And so that kind of input, finding out and exposing those problems was never available to us before. That was never available before. And so we have this great tool, which is social media now, that those guys back then, they could do whatever they want. And I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that. Those guys didn't have the kind of access to the information that we do
right
currently. And
I'm not saying you're wrong, because I'm a big proponent on going to the people, getting out there, going to where they're at. They've had pen and paper for a long time. Just go talk to them and take a note.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do it.
Go have a conversation in the community. So because if one person showed up at City Hall, that probably represented 1,000 people, but nobody wanted to take that one person serious. That one person was just sort of marginalized, which is a problem. So we're in an hour. I've got 3 questions that you kind of already answered from this thing, just from our talking. Where do you align on?
Any more questions from any of the folks? I didn't see.
Yeah, that's we can see. Actually, no. There's no comments on the video. It's just getting a lot of views and apparently a lot of likes. I can't really see anybody's comment. So
that's all right.
Bobby is one on there. It might be locked out, so I got to look into that. But definitely, we already kind of established the questions earlier this morning. We can run down them. We can do a real quick rundown of them, actually. So the biggest one, which I'm hoping you already knew about the page, and you probably saw it. How do we establish a stronger business community? Which is something. Let's not even talk about it, because we just beat that to death, I think. Obviously you understand from a business perspective. I understand from a business perspective what needs to happen. It's not gonna take us out of Act 47. Guys, if you think that some guy's going to come in here, put a cape on and pull us out of Act 47, it's just not going to happen. It's going to be something that's going to happen slowly with good decisions at every
Absolutely.
turn. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to band together and get out of Act 47, because we can't lose that money right now. We can't lose that income. So it's just not realistic. How to bring in tech jobs in the area. I don't got one for that. It's a national community of tech. People work from home now. What do you say to that? How would you make tech jobs more attractive here?
I think it depends on what tech definition you're looking at. Are you looking at like a Amazon, or are you looking at like a Google type of? I think that's really a grandiose way of thinking. I talked to a couple of tech guys, and guess what? They're one employee, and they're doing fantastic for them and their families. Now, those opportunities are huge. Where we're talking about web designers, folks who can get out and help folks develop their websites and market themselves on social media.
Cell phone repair. There's so many other ways of technology that we can tap into, that folks can tap into, and those are businesses in themselves. One, yeah.
Small businesses, small employees, those are opportunities there. And I think it just goes back to, what's your definition of tech? Like, what are you thinking? Are we going to be, Google's going to take over our downtown, like they did in some neighborhoods in Pittsburgh?
I mean, you never know. I mean, we can reach out. The worst we can do. Guess what? We could solicit. We are
absolutely going to solicit that.
Yeah,
because that'll be great. But
let's put that on. I'm gonna work with you on that. If Chris Frye's mayor, I'm soliciting Google. I don't have connections with Google.
Either.
But I've got some clout in the tech world, and I won't get into that. But I've got some clout there. So.
There's always a next one. There's always a next Google. There's always a next. So maybe we find that next, big tech company. But we have to have the infrastructure and the people and the environment to host them, right?
I'll tell you where that question came from. That came from Ryan Morozic. Ryan Morozic, when you're ready to build a tech company, you let us know. We will facilitate everything we can do for you. How about that? So there's 14 people here that voted for they want to know how to bring in a tech company. Guess what? Guess what? I'll get you guys all see your own names there. Start a club.
You're on the path. That's niche. You think about what's our niche, and we have to tap into something. So
yeah. So this is the next question is. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying we have to tap into something, right? And that could be a niche technology.
Yeah. So the next question is very near and dear to my heart. Chick-fil-A. When?
Wow.
Man, I'll tell you, I've messaged them every day. Chick-fil-A, I know you're watching. One day we're gonna get you downtown Newcastle. That's my goal, by the way. That's the whole. I'll delete this as soon as Chick-fil-A comes. This whole breaking news page, you never see me again, unless it's at Chick-fil-A.
Hey, listen. If we had a Chick-fil-A downtown, that'll be. I don't know what other businesses will we need.
No, none. Shut them down. Shut them all down. But
but as a good anchor place, build around it. Chick-fil-A has great values, and that's another thing that I think is very important to our city is instituting values and beliefs. I went to Atlanta, Georgia one time, just traveling through, and that's Chick-fil-A's headquarters. You wouldn't believe they had their values posted on signs all across the downtown of the city. So it's not just chicken you're eating. You're coming to a good environment where there's good people, and that's what when I talk about business mindset, that's some stuff that we need to get into our community. That's the type of things that we need to bring back, and we need to be focused on is having those set values. My wife loves Starbucks. What's Starbucks? You go online, you don't see coffee. You see values. You see beliefs.
Can't talk about Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is way better than Starbucks. Add it.
My wife. If my wife was here, she'd be boxing you right now.
Put her on the phone. Get her up. No, I'm kidding. No, honestly, I'll tell you what. I'll say this. Dunkin' Donuts does contribute. The owners of Dunkin' Donuts do contribute to the community a lot. I see.
Yeah, I've heard great things about them. I've heard great things.
Yeah, really good people. They've got a social media presence too that they're pretty quick to respond to any. There was a point where someone said something negative and they just went in on it and really made it right, which at the end of the day, they didn't do anything wrong, but even after that, they still made it right. So shout outs to them. They're doing a great job. And for the record, I'm not getting any coffee for free for that. So we don't do any of that, but no, but seriously, it's that kind of community leadership. And guess what? It is a franchise, but there's, that's one thing. It's a franchise is really approachable for the people that have the access and the availability and the time to do something like that. McDonald's is a franchise. We can, there's McDonald's. There can be a McDonald's on every corner. There can be that kind of entrepreneurship. That's not, that business in a box style is very popular. And Blue Coast, is it Blue Coast Burrito? What's the name of the burrito place over here? On East Washington or Washington Street. Hotheads. Yeah, those kinds of restaurants should be popping up. Fast casual should be popping up everywhere, but it's not. There's definitely opportunities there. Pizza shops are definitely coming. We love the guys over at Two Fat Guys in an Oven. They promote themselves here, and anybody that wants to promote here, we promote the shit out of them. I don't care who they are. I'll let them go. But that's what it takes, man. That's what it takes. So Chick-fil-A, it's me. By the way, if anybody fills out a form and gets accepted, I'm going to be pissed because I've got 7 in with them. But anyway, so what are your plans in obtaining assistance to repair and replace crumbling streets in all part of the city? We didn't talk about blight and we didn't talk about criminal enterprise. So let's talk about blight and let's talk about criminal enterprise because they're kind of they all intersect: blight, criminal enterprise, and the drug problem, which 3 things we didn't even touch on. So.
Right.
So okay, so let's start with that, and then let's go into criminal enterprise, because that's always a good question.
Well, we have a terrible, a big problem with blight right now. Um, if you go into, I mean, other than some of the North Hill, pretty much every neighborhood is plagued by blight. I was just on Lee Avenue, so when I first moved here, that was a street my family moved to, and it's dwindled down to just a few houses on that block.
What side of
And it's
town is that
just
on?
that's on the west side of town.
West
That's
side.
on the west
Okay.
side. Yep. But even then, we lived on the east side, and I live on the east side now, and it's still, you see a lot of house. But I think a lot of that goes to some of the landlords that are in our community, and how our houses have been marketed and been allowed to just be purchased at such low rates to out of towners that don't have a real, even some of the locals who don't have a real plan with them. They want to take part in, get funding, from government assistance programs, things like that, but they don't really have the capital to put into it to make it a nice building or a nice facility. I've seen it in, my buddy owns property in Pittsburgh, and he rents out to folks on federal assistance programs, but he has the financial backing to make them nice units, nice apartments. So I think that's where we're getting with what's plaguing our blight and with our housing market is that we're just giving away. We're giving homes away. We're doing that. And like we mentioned earlier, Dawn Services is taking action on that. They brought funding that hasn't been in our community for over 15 to 20 years. They're bringing that back. They open up the access to that. So, we're starting again. The glimmers are what I'm focused on. I'm a optimistic kind of guy. I like to see.
I see that.
I like the hope. I like to see the product. I see the things happening already.
Anybody that's running for mayor right now is an optimistic guy. An optimistic person. Definitely.
But you're right. Crime and blight really intersect. And
it's attractive. Bandos, man. It's so easy to just go into a house and now you live there. The neighborhood doesn't care.
Nope. And what we have to do is we really have to. I mean, our police force does a great job. I think Josh Lamacusa does a good job right now.
Shout outs to Josh Lamacusa. That guy,
and Bobby Salem. I love Bobby
Salem.
We've had just a few times over the year. He came to my father's funeral, and I really respect him. Him and I know a lot of the officers at the Newcastle Police Department. Great guys. I just think what we have to do is, there's a multitude of things, and that's why earlier I said it's such a comprehensive picture that we have to look at. You kind of group everything together, because when you look at crime and then the statistics on crime and drugs, how that relates to employment, how that relates to education, how that relates to having those opportunities too, it all coincides. It all groups together, and if we don't have, it's a matter of increasing our quality of life to really focus on those, or to really solve some of those issues. So the more we do to address the holistic picture of our city, the hope is that crime, drugs, blight, those things start to decrease because opportunities are there. So having an opportunity agenda, an opportunity focus where we're starting to move things forward, and we can give youth we start them young. That's the whole concept of starting a kid young, and then you treat them, or you show them the right way to go, and hopefully they don't go back. They don't do anything the wrong way. So we take them down that path, and even for the folks who are currently in it, going through rehab. I know Lawrence County Drug and Alcohol is a very strong organization, very compassionate. They work diligently. I know some local landlords or business owners who have reached out to me and wanted to change up their whole structure, a portion of their business to have a more compassionate side where they're housing, folks who are going through this. So again, it's that comprehensive picture. How do we work together to solve those problems, and how do we create the opportunities within our community so those issues are,
Yeah.
compressed a little bit. Yeah.
And it even can relate to the job market too. To be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people give up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't. The thing is, I wouldn't. I've got to work tomorrow. I've got school. I've got finals next week. I can't drink right now, right? I can't do anything. I got to go to bed, right? I truly feel that. I truly feel that you can't go out. You can't mess up your life if you got to wake up for work in the morning. You know what I mean? You can't push. Some people push the limits, but only for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's the very, very big intersecting problem, where people, it's again, it breaks down to attitude drops, self-confidence drops, and then that's when it becomes okay to maybe get into harder drugs. How do you feel that someone, I mean, you hear stories from every walks of life. Some of them you're like, okay, I can see you've got you've got a lot of things you need to self-medicate with, but how do you think someone goes from point A to point B with drugs? I know it's a very slow, gradual process, but it doesn't happen overnight. But how do you feel that happens?
That's a tough answer because it's so individualized.
Yeah.
Because right now, like what you see with the opioid crisis, it's happening on all walks of life.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have your folks that are conspiracy theorists and so drop those into our community, things like that. You also have, some of those things, and the environment's changing so much with the drug abuse and things like that. I just think as a community, we just have to be proactive. We have to lead with a level of sensitivity, of understanding, because those days of incarceration and just locking up because you have drugs on you, things like that, I think they're going away pretty quickly, and it's more rehabilitative, more restorative, and that's where we have to band together as a community to start changing those things up. Now,
the word you're looking for is recidivism. Recidivism rate is dropping because not a lot of people are going to jail for small amounts of marijuana. It's not causing them to hit that downward spiral anymore.
Yeah, I work with one of the programs I run deals with recidivism rates for juveniles on probation. So we're a restorative program for those youth. How do we keep them from recidivating? How do we give them the resources, the life skills, and those things? So
this is actually something I can speak on very well. I was in Indiana State Prison for 2 years when I lived in Louisville, and I was rehabilitating inmates. And you know how I did it? I had a success rate of anybody that came in. There was 200 inmates. That's all I had time to work with in those 2 years times. And I think of the 200, only 3 ended up coming back, and 10 of them, which that's a pretty big number. That's 5%. 5% of them went on to make jobs, 80,000 and above.
Wow.
Yeah. So rehabilitation. I absolutely believe it's true. I absolutely believe we can retrain people very easily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we as a community, one of the things that I was doing early on, and I haven't had much time to do it now that the race is speeding up a little bit, but I tried to tap into some of go back, do this whole timeline thing and look at what the community, what didn't come to the community, what opportunities did we miss? And, I've seen it on a couple different levels. Manchester Bill Will is a program down in Pittsburgh that, trains folks, low income, folks who are going through some of the things we're talking about now. And they train them and they get them into jobs, right out of graduation. That was going to come, a piece of that was going to come to Newcastle some years ago. It went to Sharon, which is now their Hope Center. Yeah. And I learned that they did their first cohort for medical assistants, and they're putting, I think it was like the number was 26 people into $30,000 jobs.
There you go.
So those are opportunities. Now I don't know if that was the exact same. I know we were going to do something along the arts and some STEM and do something for the youth, but those are the type of opportunities. If we have those abilities, if we have those opportunities, we can't let that stuff just pass. We have to really evaluate and to see, is it something that our community will benefit from? Now, if it's not, it's not. But if it is, we have to jump on it and keep those things that are and use those to our advantage.
The worst thing that could happen is someone can get educated. And that's not, you know what I mean? The worst thing that can happen is nothing at this point. And, obviously, you've got those people that want to continue to stay status quo and not do those ideas. And it's like, well, how's that working for you? And I think that's what we need. I think we need some level of reaching out to the youth and saying, hey, you can't, without saying too much, but the DARE program failed. It failed I'm sorry, not the DARE program. It was, which one was Just Say No? Was it, do you remember?
I think it was DARE. Was
it DARE? Yeah. You can't just say no. It doesn't, you can role play all you want to say no. You can't, and it's fundamentally, there are some people that truly believed in, and I believe that it made, so you've got to look at statistically. So DARE program had people that believed in it. It had, statistically, let's say it kept 10% of people off of drugs. That's a D, or that's an F. I'm sorry. That's an F. If it kept 50% of people off of drugs, we talk about it. But just say no doesn't work anymore. You have to just don't say what you don't want someone to do. Say what you do want someone to do. Say, go on. What I know when I have kids, I'm going to educate them to the teeth, right? That's my biggest goal, is because they won't. I don't believe that children will be on drugs if they have something to do. If they have better goals, and if their goals exceed anything that drugs could offer, then guess what? Those people, Nancy Reagan, someone said it, Nancy Reagan. Those people are going to move on to bigger and better things, and they don't have time to become addicted to those things.
Right.
So that's what I believe. And that's, that's something about criminal enterprising. Criminal enterprising is a very favorable thing here, because, those attitudes aren't being delivered. And those programs, guess what? Those programs, even if it reached out to one guy and that person decided to put down a gun, pick up a pencil, even if it reached out to one, you did something good. So, you can't say, right, even if it's at 10% I was talking about, it still did something good, that somebody tried. They're trying, but it's, we have to take a better approach with education and criminal enterprise. Talk about that for a little bit.
Listen, criminal enterprise, I've taken some time to research and look into, what's taking place in our community. And you hear Detroit a lot, what's going on in Detroit and how it's trickling down into our community. And, just in the last couple of weeks, there's been numerous, shots fired and people getting shot and things like that. And, what is criminal enterprise? And it's really what we want to showcase. Sometimes, when you're looking at some of our youth, and these are the youth that I work with, right? Those aren't the criminal enterprising folks.
Right.
Those are at-risk youth jumping around, running around.
Impressionable.
And impressionable youth doing things that they're trying to be social, right?
Right. For the
most part. When you're talking criminal enterprising, these are how the drugs are getting into our community. This is how the guns and the violence is taking place on such an alarming scale that gives us a number of 13% of the safest. We're only 13%. Our criminal index is 13%. So we're only 13% safer than any other city.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
In the community, or in the United States. Sorry, and that's for a small community. Like, it's not Lawrence County, it's Newcastle. That's terrible, right? and I looked up like what are we compared to like some of the bigger places, and it's all per capita, but at the same time, for homicides, things of that nature, that really destroys
Let me
our ability to compete because
let
being small, it makes us it gives us that fear and that safety factor, and it people don't want to be, they can't associate with that. They can't connect with that, especially when you can go to a community not too far away where it's not happening.
Yeah, let me stop you. How do you get a criminal index rate? What number
That
versus what number?
So 100 is the safest community.
Okay.
One being the worst community. So we're at a 13%.
Okay.
Um, so we're only
That's calculated off
low in the total.
that calculated off people that domestic violence, those
So it's
things,
a little bit of everything.
or is it
Domestic
like
violence,
non-personable
homicides.
crime? Okay.
It has every. Go to I think it's Neighborhood Scout. You could Google it. They have it posted there. I was just reading a community assessment that was conducted recently, and it's all posted on there. It, it's all public knowledge, but you can see what's taking place. So it includes all of the above. I think for our community, 1 in 179, people can be victim of a crime versus 1 in 360 for the state. So
It's pretty bad.
it's pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
But at the
I'm not
same
going to
time,
town anymore. That's it.
no. But look,
No.
at this, I've been here for 20 years, man. Nothing's ever happened to me. But at the same time, you have to really look into what it is. But my message is it affects our community on so many different levels. That
Sure.
fear factor that's
Real
being
estate.
created in real estate, education, our jobs and our businesses. People you can't have those even if they're
Yeah.
small numbers. You can't have it in because it goes based off per capita how many people that are
Yeah,
here.
and when you're a business, let's say a national company, you look at those things. You're not going to put a building. We just lost Liberty Mutual. Obviously, not because of that, but
Right.
we've got a big building now. We've got to fill. To my understanding, UPMC is supposed to take it, but let's say that could have been something. That could have been a great opportunity for something else other than healthcare, because that seems to be the most prolific nowadays. But that could have been our tech. Let's say but if they look at those numbers and say, okay, well, we've got this much here, and so if we're going to market to the most attractive resumes and say, hey, come on down to Newcastle, our crime rate's only 13%. Those people look at that. I know when I moved to Nashville, it was an absolute. It was I met some people that came into Newcastle. I have a friend flew a personal jet into the Newcastle airport to come meet me, and
Wow.
it's the first time I ever. We're gonna do it again soon. We're gonna do it again soon here. Um, he's got a jet now. He just flies it everywhere. But anyway, so his number one thing he asked me, he said, "What's Newcastle's biggest industry?" And at the time, I was probably a snarky 23-year-old. I said drugs, but really, that wasn't a fair. You do stupid. You
Yeah.
say and do stupid shit when you're young. I can't get out of that. But yeah, I won't take it back either. But that said,
Sorry.
now if I had to answer that question, I'd say our biggest industry is our people that we aggressively want to work, and
You're
and there's nobody here that wants to employ us because of all these bad stats.
right.
So
But there's ways to fix that kind of stuff. I looked into. I actually called them. The Pittsburgh always gets the most. But Pittsburgh had pretty. But how do they get the most? The yeah, that way. I think that's important too. Is person. We have to. And these type of formats, you can it'll only grow from here, right? But the more
yeah,
positive we can put out to show that Newcastle is a great city, and I don't want to say less of the negative things, but keeping it, being more.
I've got a philosophy. I've got a philosophy on that. I say we're not gonna pay attention to the negative things. We're not gonna pay attention to those negative things. We're only gonna talk about the positive things. And like you said, you were proactive about a situation. That's it.
You're right.
That's it right there. Chris Frye, proactive about a situation. You weren't mayor then. You weren't mayor then. You didn't know what was going to happen in that call, but you did it. You did it, and that's what's important. And that's what it's gonna take. Yeah, that's what we absolutely have to have. And Chris Frye will not be able to be mayor without your vote. It will not. It won't happen. Right? You've got to get. We've got to get people out there. We've got to get them voting differently, and we got to dilute the list of people that are just going to do it. Just going to do it because they can. Just going to do it because that's the guy.
We're on here for an hour and a half, but I just want to leave. If we had to leave it a little bit, I just read a leadership book not just read it a while ago for Ronald Reagan, and a lot of his quotes are just kind of ringing in my head right now because it's the political environment. But he said the worst thing you could ever hear is the government come in and say, "I'm here to help." We have to be a people that can stand on our own. And I'm saying this, and I'm running for mayor. Listen to me. We have to be a people that can come out, right, and stay and say, we are going to change our community. Government is change our community. It starts with leadership. That's our school board to any of the other boards, city council, any of those things. We have to do that. And another quote that I posted today, he also said in there is, there's no limit to growth because there's no limit to our human intelligence. And we are the engine that creates change. So we have to do that. We have to be those people. And it starts, like we said earlier, it starts with the votes. It starts with people coming out and those opportunities being open to the public and for people to see their, where they have a part. So, I want to leave it with that. We're going to fix the roads. It's going to be allotted appropriately. We're going to be efficient. We're going to get out there and the potholes are going to be gone. I think I've counted in the last week. I've been driving around town counting all the asphalt companies. No, the companies.
Asphalt companies.
Man, there's every side of town. There's I've counted at least 6.
Real quick. This guy called me out, Joseph Dennis. He wants me to have, just promise me you're going to take a look at this picture. I'm not going to upload it. It's going to take too long to do that. Promise me that you're going to look at this picture of a flooded Mahoning Street. So,
oh yeah, I was there. Hey, I was door knocking down there.
Really? Okay. So, Joseph Dennis, I did my part. All right. Sorry.
I was door knocking down there, and and I couldn't go. I was having my car, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" And I saw that bridge on Fayette Street, and I don't have any information on what's going on with those pipes and everything like that, but it's not okay. So we have to figure that out, and I'll do whatever it takes to fix that for you. Is the name Dennis?
Joseph Dennis.
I'll do whatever it takes to find out what's going on down there, and hopefully try to get back to you before May 21st.
I'm gonna put a kayak in there actually. So May 21st.
And closing it, putting some some buoys and stuff. We just go swimming.
Dude, there's people want a pool. That was the other thing we didn't get to.
What's a natural pool, buddy?
Joseph Dennis, 2 problems solved at once, guys. Chris Frye's doing it. It's making it happen for you.
No. On a serious note, I really want to look into that. I did notice that when I was in my hometown door knocking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Chris, any closing statement?
Man, you're a great interviewer. Very good hour and 29 minutes. I really appreciate it. Newcastle, again, you got to go out and vote. I hope this interview did something for you. I hope to have a debate before the primaries. I hope that I can knock on your doors and meet enough of you. But if not, feel free to contact me at any time via Facebook. Share my phone number. This is my personal number. So 724-674-0498. You could call me, text me, message me, email me, Frye, FRYE002 at gmail.com. That's my personal email. I just, there's really nothing to say other than, I'm doing this for you guys. I have a family. What do other 30-year-olds do in our town? They leave, right? I came back after grad school for the intention of creating the community that I wanted to live in and I wanted to raise my kids in. So being that I wasn't originally from here, but I was definitely raised here from the age of 13 and on, I know Newcastle has the potential to be something great, to do great things, and we have wonderful people who just need a platform to bring help, change our community and bring it back to a very thriving community. So that's from the heart.
Let's just leave it at that. Let's just cut out.
Leave it at that.
Let's just leave it at that and cut out. I can't beat that statement.
Dan Effin, you're the man. You're the man.
I know that. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
If you guys didn't get that, he said I was a great interviewer. So
he did. No, that was good.
All right. We're ending